And then when you look at what we're doing, how we are exposing ourselves, how we're making ourselves vulnerable as a matter of national security to China. I mean, not only do you talk about the Panama Canal, but I know, and I'm someone who obviously we've all been on Section 230 in big tech, but TikTok, again, it is a communist Chinese party. We know they've been caught harvesting data. When you are doing business with what you think is a Chinese company, you are doing business with the communist Chinese party. To be clear, it's something all American companies should think about. It's something that American consumers should think about. And it's certainly something that we should think about as it relates to national security. And we continue to basically whore ourselves out to a foreign adversary in the name of a quick buck. It's time for Gerald Knows Geopolitics.
Really spared no expense there, right, guys? Yeah, appreciate
This thing looks like a made in China.
Absolutely was. Well, Beijing regulators just recently have put a hold on the sale of some ports at the Panama Canal. So this was obviously a big story that we were talking about. These ports were supposed to be sold to BlackRock. So this is supposed to be a private Chinese company, right, based in Hong Kong. And they were selling it to BlackRock, and everything was supposed to be fine, right? Because, China doesn't control companies, except it looks like they're maybe kind of getting in the way of it.
Uh-oh.
CK Hutchison is under mounting pressure to drop its planned sale of ports on the Panama Canal.
That's not a real voice.
Shares in the Hong Kong conglomerate were down around 3% by early afternoon Monday. That's amid signs of official opposition to the Panama deal. A pro-Beijing paper in Hong Kong on Monday published a full page of articles urging Hutchison to drop the planned sale.
Well, I guess the Panama Canal won't be seeing any submarines.
I hate that that's the most appropriate joke for this.
It's like a parody Ringo
It really
voice.
is. It's like this guy has a cold and he's the most British guy we could find.
Every guy on British television puts me to sleep.
That's right. Hey,
Are boring.
do you think of that canal they have in Octopus's Garden?
Shut up. I'm not going to give you any more
All right,
time.
sorry. I don't
So China's foreign ministry actually came out and said that this was economic coercion. Here's a quote from them.
I'll read the quote.
Oh, thank you. I can't.
The
see that.
State Administration for Market Regulation is aware of the deal and will conduct a review in accordance with the law to ensure fair market competition and protect public interests.
Really? Really?
Yes.
That's what they're going to do?
Yeah, public interest.
Anytime that you are dealing with a Chinese company, you are dealing with the CCP. This is the same kind of problem that we have with TikTok, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Obviously, that's coming up, in a few days now. They have to either sell it or it goes away here in the United States. Do not think that you are just dealing with a company. You are dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. There's one notable example to that, because every venture from an American company into China is a joint venture. Every single one of them by law, except one, Tesla. Make of that what you will. I have no idea. I hate it. I love what Elon Musk does in some cases.
Yeah.
I hate this. But make no mistake, the CCP could walk in tomorrow and seize that facility. So it's something called military civil fusion, which is basically a policy that says we can come in and take any means of production.
No. You say we. People say big dumb American think it's America. It's we.
China.
The Chinese. We.
That we.
Can
Different we.
seize
W-I.
any private company for military use at any time.
Yes.
For the Chinese.
They can come. It doesn't matter what it is. The Chinese can come in and do it. It could be civilian drones. It could be shipping ports. And like I said, TikTok, they're facing a ban this Saturday.
Oh.
If Donald Trump bans TikTok on April 5th, 5 days before I'm supposed to launch my jewelry brand in New York City, Luigi Mangione will look like a fucking cakewalk next to me.
Maybe I've been wrong all this time, and women shouldn't be allowed to own guns.
There's an argument. I don't agree with it, but I just with maybe her.
Because without a gun, I mean, she doesn't have a chance in hell, right?
But
Any guy, but with a gun, she's as strong as any guy in this room. She just threatened to kill the president, right?
A little bit.
I've seen some girls.
Or she doesn't like cakewalks. I'm not really sure what that even is.
Over
anyway,
a jewelry company.
Yes.
Yeah, let me guess. You put some beach stones on some fishing wire, and you opened up an Etsy.
Oh wow, polished pewter.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, you found some quartz.
Yes.
Sick.
U.S. national security, my Etsy store.
Yes.
You put them on the same level there. So I talked about American companies in China being joint ventures. We've made some serious mistakes. Going back into the Clinton administration and obviously George W. Bush, we made massive mistakes in how we handled kind of offshoring stuff and putting means of production in other places that don't necessarily like us, to the point at which it becomes a national security concern. I've already mentioned Tesla, 40% of their battery supply chain, China. Fantastic, right? Right up until China says no more. Apple, 84% of their top suppliers have factories in China. Right? We've known this stuff for a very long time, but nobody seems to think it's worth doing anything about it, especially as Chinese people start to kind of flex their muscles a little bit more. They're small muscles, but they got a lot of them.
Yeah,
And so it's an aggregate.
We have more efficient central nervous system. That's why we do good in Olympic weightlifting.
Muscle
don't.
Much
tiny,
weight
but
for lighter
still
weight
mighty.
class. That's right. Like Adam Ant.
We had,
Like an Adam Ant on scooter, big helmet.
we had to create a lower weight class for you guys.
Here he come to save a day.
That's not good. So here's
Mighty Mouse.
Shut up. Here's one of the things that will drive you absolutely nuts. Pharmaceuticals. 100 critical U.S. drugs are supplied by one factory in China. 100 critical U.S. drugs. So here's how this plays out. It's obviously not good dealing with Chinese companies, the joint American ventures, because they can just shut that down anytime. They're going to steal your IP most likely in the process, which is why you let a company like Tesla come in the first place. Then you're dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. So pressure is going to be put on you that way. Then your company could just be seized for military production at any point in time. Or potentially China says, well, we do want to go invade Taiwan. And so guess what? Those 100 drugs that are critical for the United States, I'm going to turn that spigot off. Apple, you get no more parts for your phones. A lot of the stuff that we get from China right now, the tariff conversations that were happening, maybe we're not going to send that stuff to you. Maybe Donald Trump's not crazy when he tries to do things that force companies to see a financial incentive to build in the United States and to protect us and make sure that we can make things that we need to make here. There's a balance to be struck with this. We have done a terrible job over the last 30 years of striking that balance in the name of cheap stuff.
Yeah.
That was a really bad idea.
Well, also, I mean, to give you an idea, maybe the tariffs will help. For example, the mugs, which you get if you join Rumble Premium, there was no American manufacturer that could meet the supply. Not one. We're looking, not one. So the best we can have is Americans who etch it, who paint it. It couldn't be done. Why? Because it's not really cost effective for most places in the States.
Most stuff like that at scale, for sure.
And maybe once we're no longer competing with slave labor, you'll actually have American companies that can do it. There are entire sectors of our economy where American companies don't even see a void to fill because it's not worth their time. It used to be, when you talk about the Chinese sort of manufacturing, it used to be like trinkets.
Yeah.
It used to be, novelty shop
stuff.
items. Yeah. That's not what it is anymore. And by the way, it also made in China. Doesn't necessarily mean low quality either. That's just not true. So unfortunately, you also have this critical influence of unions in the United States who have rendered, the costs of goods and services and labor to be just something that is untenable. And so China undercuts them. Sometimes you have something made in the States that absolutely sucks and something made in China that is better. And a big part of that is because they also have tariffs on us here in America. Well, that shuts down our access to the second biggest market in the world. They view us as consumers. They view us as walking wallets with teeth. They don't actually engage in free trade. Free trade, the idea is wonderful.
Yeah.
The idea, beautiful, get it. But it's got to actually be fair. That's the key word, fair, and it has not been. And then when you look at what we're doing, how we are exposing ourselves, how we're making ourselves vulnerable as a matter of national security to China. I mean, not only do you talk about the Panama Canal, but I know, and I'm someone who obviously we've all been on Section 230 in big tech, but TikTok, again, it is the Communist Chinese Party. We know they've been caught harvesting data. We know that this has been happening.
It's a propaganda machine, essentially, for the United States. Why would you allow a potential adversary to have a propaganda machine built in with millions and millions and millions of users that they can put out stories? Because we know that happens.
Yeah.
We know that they could easily flip that switch at any point and go, boom, done. Chinese Communist Party, we've got the golden share. Here we go. Make this happen.
Well, it's a perfect example of free and fair trade, right? Because Americans go, well, hey, hold on, freedom of speech, TikTok. Well, there's not freedom of speech because it's regulated by the Communist Chinese Party. Let me ask you this. How does Rumble do in China? How do free speech platforms do in China? So we as Americans want to accept communist, fascist, censorship-driven content, right? Propaganda here because, that's well within our rights, and act as though that's a free exchange. Well, how do you think companies like Rumble would do if they had access to these giant markets? I think they're still banned in Brazil.
They are still banned in Brazil. I just want to throw one more company on there. How do you think TikTok does in China? Oh, that's right. It's banned.
That's right.
You can't view TikTok in China. It's really nice if we could trust another country that had free speech or maybe wanted to allow their citizens to have access to information. But when a country specifically bans other apps from other countries and other platforms because they don't want their citizens to see what freedom looks like, that should be a bit of a red flag for us. We shouldn't be sleepwalking into this anymore. Everybody should be eyes wide open on what China can do to us if they decide to do it. That's a huge threat. It's more of a threat than their military is to us right now, by far. This is a problem. We have not corrected this. And I hate to say this, Obama was better on this than Bush and Clinton were.
Yeah,
and Trump,
in some capacities.
I really hope that this is part of a broad strategy to make sure that this problem is fixed. He has got to have incentives in place. Companies need to see the financial benefit, and they need to push manufacturing, at the very least, to a friendly country that's stable over time, but absolutely would be better if it's here in the United States.
Well, also just look at the fact they export TikTok, but they won't allow it in their country.
Yeah.
Chinese grow farms for marijuana, boy, do they profit off of the American marijuana industry.
Pushing our weed.
Yeah. If they're caught with that in China, they basically shoot you and send your family the bill for the bullet. Hey, if you like this video, or if you have strong opinions, comment below, where I will tell you this, the comment section on YouTube is the best that society has to offer. You won't regret it one bit. Or you can click one of these videos playing right here next to me in that box. No, not that one. That's embarrassing.